So, hello and welcome along, or welcome back to the Dads in Business podcast video series. My name is Rob Taylor from Dads in Business, where we aim to create space and conversation for busy working dads to bring the best of themselves to home and to work. And to do that, we invite guests from personal development, professional development, and the business space to share their insight, their expertise and positioning about how their input might help us, improve what we're doing day by day to be more aware, more present, not only at work, which consumes so much of our time, but more so at home. A lot's changed for us all in the past 2 years or so, not only in our lives, but the lives of our kids. And I think sometimes we can get distracted, we can get pushed and pulled left, right and centre. And I don't think sometimes we know which way to turn. But for me, this one's an important topic. And I'm delighted that we've got play and parenting consultant Debi John here today to discuss the art of playfulness, not only with our kids, but also for ourselves and the hidden powers that might be for our employers, our own businesses, by focusing on playfulness for ourselves, but our families. But Debi, if you could give yourselves a better introduction than I just gave you, that would be a great start, and then we'll dive into having a natter around playfulness.
I think that was fine. It was absolutely great. But yeah, I'm really privileged to be able to spend my time full time now talking about the power of play and its ability to transform not just our own lives, not just our families' lives, but the whole community, the whole of society, if we could really embrace and value play more than we currently do.
Oh, it's a right mission. It sounds like a fun mission, I must say, because I am an absolute bugger for it. And I think there's a real serious undertone to what you're doing is obviously very serious, and we'll come into why that's so. But I guess it manifests its place, Debi, where I see it is I get home from work. If I've been busy, I can be stressed, I can be tired after a long day that's not gone how I wanted it to. And from my kids' perspective, they see dad coming home from work, I want to play with him. And how many times, and you might feel this as a woman as well, do you start checking your phone and you start wondering who's emailed me at 7 or 8 o'clock at night? Who could possibly want my time that's more important than my kids? But that's the thing we wait for. I feel there's a real distraction and that push and pull that I mentioned in the introduction. You mentioned in one of your videos on your website about parents feeling disconnected, or dads in this case feeling disconnected. Can you just dive into what the definition of disconnection in your purpose in this sense? What does that mean if a parent's feeling disconnected?
Well, it's a really lovely question to start with. From a personal point of view, I've experienced disconnect not just within myself. I've also experienced disconnection with my partner. And when we feel disconnected, we are built for connection. So we have been built, as humans, to be a part of a community, a tribe, and to be able to lean on each other and to be able to communicate with each other. Clear communication is fantastic for relationships, right? In any form. And when there's these barriers for connection, that's when things start to break down. So that can also include our mental health, because when we don't have the support from others where we need it most, or we can't tune into our body because we've experienced some trauma, so there's a body-brain disconnect we'd often talk about, and can't quite work out what is going on inside of us, that's when we feel stuck, and then we start to go into rigidity and the opposite of what I'm trying to champion, which is playfulness and play.
Interesting. So I guess like a physical sort of how that might manifest, Debi, I'm trying to context it into how it might show up from my own experiences. If I get stressed or a bit overwhelmed, I get a bit numb to things, or a bit almost brain fog can come in.
100%. If you think about the stress curve, you've got baseline where we're calm. In schools, when I used to do sort of anger management, you had number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. What number are you? 1 being really calm, 2 a bit irritated, then you get frustrated, then you can feel it in you, and then 5 you've blown up and you've completely lost it. Anger management is not managing this person who's at a number 5 completely exploding. I mean, you're too late then. Anger management is when you're at a 2 or a 3, noticing what's going on inside your body. Oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Oh, I'm feeling a bit frustrated here. I'm going to use my toolbox, breath work, play, different things to bring me back down to a 1 again. And you're constantly over the course of the day, you know, fluctuating with your stress levels, aren't you? And so yeah, disconnect with this awareness. So as we grow in consciousness as people, and we do some sort of work on ourselves, we can then sort of spot these signs a bit more.
I think I'd be interested your comment on this. Is it more difficult for men and dads to connect with their disconnect?
Oh, yeah. Like I have a lot of clients who are highly successful businessmen who are managing a whole team of 100, you know, staff. They come home and they can't manage a 3-year-old, and then they feel disempowered, like a failure, humiliated, helpless, like. Or they come home and their teenagers are completely blanking them, not even saying hello, F off, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, hey, hang on a minute, I can tell all these people to do stuff and then they do it, and I come home and this is, and it can then cause conflict, and then you get arguments in the home, you get frustration, or you just go into yourself and you think, okay, if they don't want to play with me or connect with me, I'm just going to do my thing. And then you just got poles apart, this disconnect going on at home. And then when something happens and the child is in need or wants connection or gets into a bit of a scrape, who do they feel safe enough to go to this disconnected person or not? So I'm really passionate about encouraging us to find those ways of connecting, even when they're in their teenage years, you know, through, you know, gaming. I'm really, really passionate about esports and all these kind of things of connecting in this digital age. It's not the same as it used to be. You know, as a parent, it's such a change. Just the last 2 years, my girls are now 14 and 16, right? My poor hubby, he gets it in the neck every other day. He's just being called anything by one of my kids, and sometimes I get it too. If I kind of take it personally and think this is how good a parent I am with what the words that are coming out of their mouths, then my emotions and my mental health would be going up and down all the time. But if we can pause, step back and go, oh, I'm curious as to why I'm seeing this kind of behavior, and I'm going to stay adult here, and I'm going to respond in XYZ this way and use these tools, then the connection can still remain, and you are continuing to be that safe port of call for them, no matter whether they're swearing at you or whether they're calm and smiling and want to play with you.
There's loads in that, Debbie, and I'm going to try and pick off a few points from what you just spoke about. I think there's it's not a stigma, but maybe a stereotype. There's a bit of a stereotype, isn't there? I guess busy working dads in this context in business will almost enjoy their work life more than they do their home life, probably because they can manage that team.
Feel safe. Oh yeah,
exactly.
You feel safe. It's about feeling safe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never known anyone like my own kids who can push my buttons quite like they can.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But I think you mentioned somewhere in your response about our taking more responsibility, I think was what you were sort of gearing towards. I'm going to stay adult here and deal with this. And I think a lot of people found during lockdown 2 years ago, they found almost a life and a sense of themselves again that they didn't get or weren't afforded when they run their own business or they were in work. When work couldn't happen, they had to be at home with the kids. And I think a lot of people enjoyed that. But then it seems to have been... But some didn't.
And it put a lot of pressure on things. I mean, I was mentoring single mums who were stuck in a 1-bedroom flat, couldn't get away from their 5-year-old and had to entertain them and could only go out for half an hour a day, you know. And yeah, 100%.
I think what's happened in the past 2 years from my own experiences was a sort of sense of connection, if you like, that forced getting in the spot. I was fortunate we had a garden. It was the best summer in terms of weather we had, so I was fortunate in that case. But you're right, I think a lot of people were almost imprisoned and they couldn't escape. But I think what it's made people do, and certainly employers, you'll probably know more around the employer side of things, is it's made them look more about the work-life balance and the paternal leave, which is not necessarily something that we talk about as other experts in that field about equal paternal rights. But surely to get that moving, we have to be open to this idea of being more connected with our kids, because if not, we fall back into that habit of, I'm good at work, I enjoy work, I'll go there because that's my safe space. And until we break that barrier, we can't have a level playing field, can we? Because the dads deep down probably won't want equal paternal rights.
No, it's so true. Women as well, you know, in the workplace sometimes will feel safer in the role that they know than this kind of unknown world of parenting where there's no rule book, or there's thousands of parenting experts telling you all these different things of what to do and how to speak and what to say and how much time you should be doing this and what you should be doing that. And it's like, pause. And I'll go to that in a minute, but you know, we're talking about adult mode just before we go on. I think I want to just explain this a bit more. So there's adult mode and there's child mode, okay? And I'd learned this from one of my first life coaches about 10, 12 years ago now. And she was saying the way we respond to each other, adult to adult, or even adults can go with another adult into child mode, you know, victim mode, or they can, and when say when you're a teenager, you've got a teenager, and they say, you never do this, you can either go, oh yes I do, and you never do this, and you never do this, and it can just become this kind of like fight thing. Or you can stay adult and think, okay, there's a reason for this behavior, or there's a reason for why they've said this. I'm going to stay curious, which is that playful nature, because play is being curious. And I'm going to try and understand, seek first to understand, you know, what's going on. And I'm going to be that safe place for that kid to hit against sometimes, or whatever they need to do. So that's one thing. And what were we talking about? Building connection, weren't we? And this disconnect when you come home and in the workplace. Yeah, that's why it's so important, the work I'm doing, giving parents practical tools, like have a game of piggyback where you let the child tap you on the shoulder to tell you which way to go, okay? Because that little change, not just a piggyback ride, letting them direct you, helps them to process that feeling of helplessness and being told to do this, do that, do the other when you're at school, sit here, stop this, go there, right? And they're frustrated, they get home and they're like, "Urgh." So they might kick off and just be a bit, you know, hard work for you. And if you can enter into that and give them that way of expressing themselves and feeling a bit more in control, you know, this kind of power reversal play, playing with a pillow, and when they hit you with the pillow, you kind of fall to the floor and go, you're so strong, you know, how did you do that? With one blow and I just fell to the floor. They laugh and you can hear that belly laughter, and the stress hormones start to dissipate and you can have fun and they can have fun, and there's this connection that happens just as if you know, give them that chance to feel empowered and to feel seen and noticed. And it doesn't take long, does it, to those, I call them micro moments of connection, beautiful micro moments of connection. It doesn't have to be a 50-minute therapy session for a child to play, or playing Minecraft for 2 hours, or playing Lego for an hour, playing Barbies. You know, it can just be those a little funny face, or just anything that can make them feel seen. So again, phones, you're talking about phones, the act of putting my phone down and looking at my teenager. You're talking to me, what would you like to do today? You know, what would you like to say? And I'm listening now, sorry. And it's just that attention that from infancy, you know, we know a baby's brain is forming all these incredible connections incredibly fast. I mean, the statistics are nuts. As the main caregiver looks into the child's eyes and the child looks back at the caregiver, these connections are formed, and that child feels seen and safe and soothed and loved, and they get familiar and they start to bond. Yeah, that doesn't just stop at 2 or after 1,000 days. You know, all this research about the first 1,000 days being the most important, you know, but I only studied play when my kids were like 8 and 10. Does that mean I've completely ruined their lives forever? No, because this dance of attachment, dance of attunement, which we can go into if you like, is an ongoing thing. And yes, the way the brain grows and the earlier trauma happens and things, yes, it does have a big impact on our children. However, neuroplasticity, things can heal and we can plug the gaps later on in ways if there's the environment to do so.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you said it there where it's like, yeah, you have your phone here. It's like, yeah, just a minute. I'll be with you in a minute. If that's someone talking to me, I feel angry. It's like you're ignoring me. So imagine how our kids must feel when we're so distracted that we can't afford them the opportunity when we've not been there all day.
Let's just make every single parent feel guilty right now.
I know. Well, sometimes we need a bit of
please,
a
like,
slap
hear
in the
me.
chops,
I'm in there too. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. And I think it's important to point out that no one's perfect. No. You know, I'm sure even you have your off days and can't be bothered to engage. Yeah, exactly. But I think what you said there is that micro moments of connection. It doesn't have to be wholesale changes. It doesn't have to be this dreaded massive action, which, you know, for me is a myth. Let's just do the small but persistent and consistent bits that get remembered. And you know, you're saying as well about they come home from school having been told, go here, do this, sit there, do that. We've just had a week away for our Easter break last week. And I said to my missus, the amount of times I must say a command to them. I've got 3 young boys, so it's like, go here, do there, sit there, move this, down there, shut up, speak up, slow down, speed up. It's like they're constantly getting barked at with orders, and I could beat myself up sometimes, but I can't stop that sometimes, because I must get to a point where, do you know what, I'm just annoyed right now, and I just can't. This is the only way I can deal with it. So I'm hoping through our time together today, you can start to help me, but also others watching and listening. I guess the first part is pause, isn't it? And this, I've got a horrible feeling you're going to start going on about mindfulness, which is something that I really struggle with. And I think other people in my position struggle with too. So if pause is where we need to start, Debbie, talk to a busy working dad about how we can pause and how we can actually see benefit from it.
Pausing,
I don't like doing it.
No, pausing is not cool. It's unconventional. It's countercultural. It's probably the most countercultural thing we can do in society. And I wish pause was not the first step. But not only is it the first step, it's the most necessary step, the most needed step, and it's the one I generally will you know, stay on for a while when I'm doing my training, because we cannot tap into playfulness and play if we are in a stressed state. If you look in nature and you see cubs playing or dolphins playing, are they playing when there's a load of sharks around? No, of course they're not. Are they playing when they're hungry, tired? No, they play when they feel safe. They feel safe in their environment. They feel relaxed. And so this is why I'm going into corporates talking about play, because it's actually stress management here. It is working with well-being. It's looking at, okay, so I'm not feeling quite right here. I'm feeling a sense of disconnect. I'm finding it hard to connect with my colleagues. Everyone else seems happier than me right now. Everyone seems to be able to get on and think straight and you know, concentrate. And I'm really struggling here. Or this team dynamic is just not feeling right. And so it's pausing and going, okay, we take a step back. In the video, we find perspective. And it was not natural for me. I know I'm not a guy, but mate, I was busy bee. My whole branding's around bee. My name means buzzy bee. Yeah. So I know what it's like to be busy. I know what it's like to burn the candle at both ends. I was a teacher, for God's sake, you know. So you're getting up, at 6, you're getting into the classroom at 7, you're working till 6 with a 10-minute lunchtime, you're getting home, you've got the kids. I mean, there were times when I got in and I would slump on the sofa and my 5-year-old would go and get a blanket and put it on me. That's not very playful, is it? You know, But that was where I was at, and that was the energy I had at the time. And it's looking at our lives, getting a mentor or a coach or doing something where we evaluate what's going on and say, okay, how can I foster play? How can I pause and think, get play into my day? So I was working with someone. She was work at KPMG, and she was talking. No, it wasn't. There's another consultancy in London. She was telling me about her day, which was a long day, and her hubby. And she's like, how can I fit play in? Like, I literally only have half an hour. I've got to like bath the kids in that time, feed them, make sure they've done the homework, you know. And so we looked at the elements, and we found that bath time was a beautiful opportunity for some connection, because you've got the water going on, so you've got that sensory play facilitated. You can do these things. Now, bath time can be an exercise to wash my child as quickly as possible. And you get the child, plonk them in the bath, come on, oh, I don't want to, oh, I hate bath time, oh, I don't want to get changed, you know, and you're kind of flustered and you just, oh, come on, get in the bath. Or it could be like, bath time, who's going to go first? Are you going to have a bath, or are you going to do your teeth first? Give them the choice. And you do bath, and you've got crayons in there, and you're drawing on the walls, and you're doing bath, and you're putting it on your face and making funny faces at them, and you're having a laugh. Or you could be helping them to calm down during bath time and rubbing their back and washing their hair, you know, not just scrubbing their hair like, oh, come on, just stop crying. It could be slow things down, let's pause and go, this is an opportunity for connection. Hey, I'm going to make this into a therapeutic, soothing kind of thing. And men can do this, because I've seen it. It's not a mum thing. You know,
absolutely, please.
They can slow things down. It's only going to take an extra minute. Yeah. And I'm going to put the shampoo in and actually give them a head massage at the same time, and just help them to just calm down from the day. And I'm going to lower them down gently and say, and give them some eye contact. You see the change? You just shifted, you've paused, and you've used play to build connection, rather than this rushing from one thing to the next, disconnected and frazzled.
I can completely connect with the bath time thing, because it's like, you know, I've got 3 young'uns, they're quite close in age. I get back, it's bath night, and it fills me with dread.
It's bath night.
Oh my God, it's bath night.
Yeah.
Who wants a bath? None of them even listen. They don't even look at you to acknowledge the question. And it's like, right, and then you start commanding, get in the bath. The bath's run. Now you'll lose your YouTube time. Get in the bath, and it becomes like a
threat. You know, you're threatening them. It's like conflict. Yeah.
So I guess with that adult mode on, Debbie, how can those who don't, I guess, know what pausing is, think they're too busy, I don't have the time, I've only got half an hour before I need to get my own tea time sorted, and then bed before I'm up again, and you're telling me to stop? How can we find time, Debbie? What can we do that's manageable in those small micro moments to, I guess, to try the method of pausing? What can we do?
I think it only takes a second to do a body scan. Okay. So a body scan is, where's their tension? So you might be going to the gym quite a lot and stuff. If you just pause, do a body scan. Oh, I'm tight in my shoulders. Do. Okay. Just respond to that. Oh, I can feel my breath is really shallow right now. Breathe out. Boom. That's a micro moment to pause. There's this amazing book called You're Not a To-Do List. It's about pausing. And this guy talks about this Buddhist monastery where there's this kind of ledge at the bottom of the door going into the meditation room. And it makes the monks step over into the new place. Sometimes we literally just have to take that count to 1, he calls it, count to 1. It's not count to 10, 5, anything like that. Just that moment before we respond. Yeah, it's getting into, it might be, you can think of different characters, yeah, and you click into a superhero mode, or you click into calm dad mode, yeah, whatever helps you. I can't prescribe what every dad in your network has to do. They've got to find it for themselves, but they won't find it if they just busy themselves and keep doing the same thing as they've already done, because we know that's sign of insanity, right?
Yeah, definition of insanity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we're waiting for sometimes, though. What book was that, Debbie? Sorry, that you mentioned.
I think it's You're Not a To-Do List. I think it's Pause. It's called Pause. I'll send it to you. But
yeah, I'll drop it in the links and stuff. That'd be great.
One of the most inspiring quotes, George Bernard Shaw says, you know, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And there's times on your commute home. So I live near somewhere called 𝐂𝐿𝐃𝐄𝐓, and it's only about 5 more minutes from 𝐂𝐿𝐃𝐄𝐓 to my home. And when I've dropped my teenagers off in Chippenham, sometimes I'll just stop the car, get out, walk 1 minute one way into a field, take a breath, walk back, get back in my car. I feel like I've gone out for an hour. And it just helps me to press reset. And you will find things that work for you that help you to just press that reset button. Might be something on your phone, might be something, you know, a visual, a quote round, you know, putting a pause sign on your hand. Sometimes I do that, you know, just whatever you need to do.
Yeah, we talk, or my colleague on the Dads in Business work, he talks about transitions, and I think you're sort of referencing similar things to that. You know, if you struggle where work is home and home is work, take a walk around the block, take a walk around the house to get from one frame of mind to the other. And it sounds similar to what you're suggesting with the pause. It's to almost acknowledge and take that responsibility to say, I'm shifting focus almost, and it's that snap into something else. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And we just do things without thinking so much. And it just might take that one-to-one with a coach to challenge just a couple of habits that you got into and say, so why are you doing that? You know, speaking to someone who works for a massive corp, he has a 50-minute journey home and was saying to me how he can't, you know, he's really struggling to connect with his kids when he gets home and da. And I asked him what he was doing on that commute home, and he'd been doing a load of stressful things on the way home and filling his mind with a load more information and doing work calls right up to the door. So I challenged him on that. I was like, is that a way of preparing yourself for the influx of your two very energetic kids when you get home? Probably not. So sitting in the driveway for a bit, you know, I teach people just a really effective way of breathing that can get your autonomic nervous system right down again in 2 minutes. So there are ways, there's no excuse for it, but I am not about making people feel guilty. Everyone's on a different journey with their own stuff from their childhood and the present. Yeah. And it's
everyone's got their story, their experiences, don't they? And I think, yeah, I like that approach of like, I'm not here to prescribe what to do. I can show you a framework, but it's on you to make the change that you want to see, isn't it? And I think often, again, I'm guilty of this, to use the G word. I'm almost like a parent from the lens of work. And it's like everything has to do parent-wise has to fit into my work as well. And it should be the other way around. Or it should certainly have more balance to it, because work's very important to me. You know, I need to look after the house and the family. So a lot of stuff, work takes priority. And I know it's one of my things I do need to work on is when I'm at home, I need to be present and at home. I am here. Let's have a pillow fight, because they love it. You're right, that belly laugh, they love it. And
you don't want to have to pay 60 grand like I did to learn all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Being present, I didn't realize the power of it, and I had to pay to learn this stuff, to learn that I could sit in for 40 minutes without saying anything, holding space for someone. I mean, that scared the hell out of me when I was told I had to do that first time. You know, me not talking, you serious? So yeah, but pausing in all seriousness can also go from the micro moment to a year's therapy, dealing with those triggers that you keep finding yourself being triggered by. You know, sometimes we know with research that when a child gets to a certain age, which is the same age as when you experience some really massive trauma, that can be a massive trigger for you. As subconsciously. You won't necessarily go, oh, I remember this happening when I was this age. It's all sort of in your subconscious. And I would really recommend whatever kind of therapy you go for something that's dealing with your subconscious beliefs, that's working in a deep way rather than just cognitively, because that's 5% of the power of your brain. You want to go with the 95%, all these subconscious things that are happening lower down.
And that all comes, I guess, with the pause and the awareness side of things. And there's two prongs I'd like to attack it when we've just got into play and connect, if that's all right, with the sort of professional side and the home side of things. But let's say we've got down to our pause, we've got that down to a T, we know what we're doing. What do we mean by playfulness? So let's have some fun. What do we mean by, why is it so important that we are playful? Tell me about that. We pause, then we play. Why do we play?
Play is amazing. I mean, if you think about in the corporate world, I don't know if you've ever done anything like go rowing with people or go on like adventures or get a load of Lego in the office or whatever. Play removes a sense of hierarchy like nothing else. Yeah, I played Dobble with this top dude in Microsoft, and it removed the sense of hierarchy very quickly when you're trying to spot symbols. You're both trying to look for the same, frog or whatever. It's amazing because we want companies where every employer feels valued and heard. Because I don't know about, in school, for example, there were TAs that had more of a therapeutic response with the children and knew those children in a far deeper, more powerful way than maybe the head teacher did. And the cleaner had an impact in some children's life more than, the deputy head, because they had this presence and they understood that child. And your employees will understand different aspects of the business. They'll come with their own experience. So you want everyone to feel heard. So if you can remove that sense of hierarchy, bang, you're winning. And play makes people feel safe, as we were talking as well. That feeling of safety is incredible. And we want the women and men and any gender to feel safe and heard. And I think that also helps. But play doesn't mean we have to be having a drone in the office every day or messing around. I think we have to be really careful of how we define play, because play is different for other people. Sometimes people would like to do a puzzle and really quietly just make a puzzle, or clay, or have something, having something to squish, or just a funny remark, or it's so much broader than we can often make it. Cooking can be play. All these things. Gaming, I mean, the esports world, a 1.2 billion dollar industry now. The games industry is billions of dollars. The average gamer is 34, that kind of thing, in the US, I think. So that says that adults still want to play, right?
But it's frowned upon because it's not professional, it's not proper. And just before we hit record, I mentioned that one of the 4 areas that sort of make up our Dads in Business approach, if you like, is business life, money life, family life, and sense of self, our self life. I think sometimes it gets forgotten, doesn't it? I'm sure you've seen it from your own experiences, where you hear people say things like, "Oh, I used to love doing that. Oh, I enjoyed that one."
Like me on Friday night, I went clubbing unexpectedly, and I was like dancing with all these 20-year-olds, and I was like, flipping heck, nothing's changed, but it feels
I've still got it. I can still do it.
It was great fun, But like me on the football pitch, so I used to play football every day as a teenager with all my brothers and lads and stuff. When I go back on the football pitch, when I can't even play a whole game now, I'd die. But I feel like 15 again. I love it. And that sense of teamwork, and I bet. And when I was stressed as a teacher, working in a really difficult school, at the end of the day, I'd get the crash mat on the wall, get a football, put some music on, and smack that ball into the wall very far. Like that sounds really dodgy. Oh God, edit that bit. So I'd kick the ball into the wall, and it would make this big loud sound, and it felt brilliant. And it was just a way of releasing all the frustration from the day. So I was using play to release the stress. And okay, let's go into it. Sex is a way of adult playing, and people say, "Oh, adult play." 50% of the people will probably think sex. But if you think about the most beautiful, wonderful sex, it's when you're feeling safe with each other, when you're feeling seen and heard and you understand each other, and it's that dance. So, you know, play in all its forms, 100%.
And what would you say to people who say, I don't have time to do that anymore? I don't have time to do what I used to like doing because I'm too busy. I've got work, I've got kids, I've got bills to pay. I ain't got time to go out and take photos and do photography. I don't have time for that. So what would you say to, I'm sure you hear that a lot. What is it you say to people when they push back on that?
I think I acknowledge where they're at, and I have a compassionate response and say, yeah, it's really bloody hard to make time to play because it doesn't feel like a priority, and it's tough. And there are seasons of our life where we don't have as much time, you know, and we've got a newborn with colic screaming the house down most of the time and a stressed out wife. We need to like show up and be there and do our part in whatever, you know, format takes. It's a flow. That's why I call it a flow. It's not a regime or a routine, or you have to do 2 hours of this and 1 hour of that. Andrew Huberman has just done a 2-hour lecture on the power of play. And he said just 1 hour a week of tinkering is what he calls it, doing something that is some kind of play that you don't normally do. So for me, I bought an Xbox when I was 40. I just turned 40 and I bought myself an Xbox, and I've been learning how to game. And that is using a different part of my brain. Like I'm telling you, my kids laugh at the way I play, and I'm so slow. You know, Minecraft, for example, takes me an hour to make some kind of little swimming pool or something, and they can just destroy it in 5 minutes. So, but it helps neuroplasticity. It helps your brain to keep functioning and think outside the box. And this is why I do the too busy not to play lunch and learns in corporate. I explain the neuroscience behind the power of play, the benefits of play, like removing sense of hierarchy, productivity, etc., more relaxed. And then you have that why, like Simon Sinek says, you know, find your why. I don't come across many parents when I've done that work with them that they still saying that to me, because they find their why and they're like, you know, little, like you were saying before, little changes make the world of difference. And like I've got this on my thing, you know, what's this called?
Protractor, I think.
Well done, that's it. You know, if we just shift our direction on a yacht or whatever by 1 degree, we are going to end up in a completely different place.
It's so, because it sounds so frivolous, like you say, playing means messing around.
Oh, I'll tell you why. We've structured our flipping society like that. We go out to play. We have playtime at school. We have separated play and learning, and we have elevated learning, and dysregulate, whatever. What's the word?
Deprioritized.
Deprioritized. It's not as important. And then the research comes out and like, oh, your brain works so much better in the playful state and flow, and you can actually do way more, and you can think outside the box. Do we want kids who can regurgitate facts? No, we've got Google for that now. We want people who can think outside the box, coding, creating, you know, in the digital world, thinking of new solutions, coming up with ways to save the planet. And they're not going to have the confidence in their own ability. They're not going to have the confidence to have a go and try out things, which is what you do when you're playing, if you haven't spent enough time playing in the first place.
Yeah, I left my eldest at home playing. He got a train. It was his birthday of the week, and he got his first Hornby train track. It must be hard for Hornby to compete against the attention of YouTube and PlayStations. But tell you what, I left him. I've got a picture of him on my phone, immersed in building this track and connecting it up and figuring out where the points go and all that sort of stuff. Fascinating to see him how he's creating this almost little story about his track. It's lovely to see. Really
Lego are not going out of business anytime soon. I mean, they are developing more and more products. They've even got products for adults now, and they are doing some fantastic research on the power of play. And they've got a whole Play Federation Foundation now. They sponsor. They use some of their money to, you know, give to play causes who are doing research on it, and community projects around play. So yeah,
there's so many serious distractions, isn't there, in the world?
There is.
Brexit, COVID, wars, inflation. It's so easy to get bogged down in all that stuff that I guess just 6 minutes aside on FIFA 22 is my go-to. It breaks the barriers a little bit, doesn't it? And I think corporates will obviously start to see the benefits of that, but also our kids at home. And I guess, Debbie, just the final one before we split into the sort of corporate personal side. Connect is the third part of your methodology. I guess you've got the pause, play, connect. Is this how you measure the success? Is this how you check in with yourself? Tell us about the connect side of your work. What's that for?
Yeah, it's a lot more simple, this part. It's the end game, isn't it? It's the end goal. As we discussed right at the beginning, we're all built for connection. I found this out through the hard way of getting to a very low state in my own life when I got depression and I felt very disconnected. And I still have days where I think, I've got 2 kids and a dog and I still feel really alone today and really isolated. What's going on? And we can often feel that. And it's okay, going to the mindfulness, we acknowledge the emotion, we let it pass, but it's okay. Every emotion is valid in this. And so, yeah, it's a heart sign because there's an amazing load of research and based on a modality that I use called quantum energy coaching. And the Heart Math Institute talks about how the heart absorbs stress and there's more connections from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. And that is the thing that senses danger. Yeah. So we can either go through life tense, disconnected, and rigid, or we can go through life connected, playful, and calm. And I know which way I want to go, right?
Yeah. And it's our choice, I guess, at the end of the day. But we have to play up to stigmas of being busy, 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 busy. I'm more busy than you. Busy is the measure of success. So frustrating, isn't it?
But I mean, I respect people. Like, there's some of the best managers I've experienced or met are like, have got such a presence about them. They're just cool, they're just calm. They're like, I've got this. I've got you. We want more of that, don't we, in business?
I think we have to. And I think, if you don't mind, just jump into the work that you do with corporates. And I guess on that, we want more of that in business. Why do corporates bring you in? What problems are they trying to solve? And I guess the other side of that is how do you measure success for bringing playtime into corporate teams? So what is it that they've identified as the problem, and how do you justify messing around as a means to an end?
Wow. There's so many layers to this. Well, there's so many layers to this, and every corporation is at a different stage, and what I offer will vary onto where their team is at. And it is hard to measure, playfulness. How do we measure playfulness? However, if we think about team dynamics and productivity, you can measure that, and you can measure things like staff retention. How valued do people feel in that team? And because of the pandemic in the last 2 years, where parents have been under immense stress, we have corporates at the moment who assume that everything's fine. Okay, lots of law firms I've been talking to, they think that their staff are fine, but I talk to the staff and they're like, I'm struggling to keep it together right now. I've been trying to keep it together for the last 2 years and I feel at breaking point. And it's those tuned in leaders, it's the ones who really know their teams that are bringing me in at the moment. I'm kind of like at the early adopters sort of stage. Not everybody is in the place where they're going to bring a play consultant in, right? And that's okay. I'm like, this is what I do. This is the pause, play, connect model that I've trademarked. There's no one else in the UK that can talk about the pause, play, connect model. People talk about pausing all the time, connection, play. Yeah, absolutely. But you put those 3 things together, it's memorable, it's actionable. You can apply it to your own life, whether you've got kids or not.
Yeah, we did some research around the back end of sort of lockdown 1 or 2, I don't know, lockdown part 2 maybe. I think it was summer last year, with a corporate as the sample, a few hundred responses to that. And you're right, the perception is from up above, everything's fine. We're so busy as an organization. Work from home is working fine. From a logistic and an operational sense, of course it's working fine. What are the people on the tools? Is that working fine as well? And the response was, it'd be interesting to see if it marries up with your own perceptions, that guilt is through the roof. Waking anxiety, waking overwhelm is through the roof.
Yeah.
People not being able to switch off, feel they should be here, should be there.
Should.
Like they're always on call for work, whether that's explicit or just implied. You've got a phone, you work from home, we own you is almost is a bit of the perception. And I think, to go back to the word disconnect, is there a bit of a disconnect between the workforce and the work management, do you think?
Often, and it's always been the case, hasn't it? And also, I worked with one corporate, and I mean, the price per head, because we can do this online. So I do my presentation online, and I might have charged a few thousand, but there was like hundreds and hundreds of people on the call. So you think price per head, it's like minimal, right? If I'd done that in person, I'd only had 100 in the room, 50 in the room, 10 in the room. So the price per person was right up there. This is an amazing opportunity for corporates to get this kind of message out that makes the difference, that you'll see the return on investment in time. But like you say, it's something that we're growing in, it's taking baby steps. And if we are so, if we're all only just looking at the numbers and data analysis on what I offer, you're probably going to miss some of the value in there. And it's just worth having a conversation, because I'm not someone who will force what I do on any company. Often they will come to me if they heard me speak, or they want, me to do things. And actually as well, just to put it out there, I don't know how you feel, but it takes a lot of energy to do what I do. I have to guard my energy, and I have to, yes, it's speaking, but it still takes it out of you. And this has been a journey of 40 years and 20 years in public services and all these kind of things. I've worked with some of the most poorest, most traumatized teenagers out there, and families who are just at their wits' end. I've seen most behaviors out there, and I'm compassionate, but that takes energy. And I say things in one way, there might be another consultant that says things in another way that's more appropriate for their company. I'm not going to be for everyone, but I do know that what I do works, it's memorable, it's simple, it's actionable, and it's an amazing opportunity to grab hold of for your clients if you want to make them feel valued and heard and seen.
No, I think it's fascinating to take so much learning from the family space, take it to corporates when you're talking such busy professionals who themselves have a lot of pressure and have energy levels that they have to bring. And you're right, when you're doing facilitating work, you can't bring your reserve game, can you? You have to be on point.
And when people say, "Oh, can you just come and talk for free?" or "Can you just share the, a bit?" It's hard sometimes to make people see the value. But then another company will come along. I'll say my price, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'll have you twice." So that sounded rude again. Oh my God, really?
Well, you do talk about plays.
I do talk about plays. I'm so bad.
I think on that bombshell, we should look at that before you put both feet in it.
I'm tired. I've been doing so much today.
Right. Debbie, I like to try and ask our guests to leave some quick wins. There's no such thing as silver bullets, but quick wins that people who might be watching and jumping on can apply almost immediately. And I guess for you, you've got the pause, play, connect. How can we start to apply this? Overnight, what little steps can we take? If you've got 2 or 3 things we can start to do immediately, that would be fantastic. And then we'll wrap this up before you dig a bigger hole for yourself.
I think with all of this, I think we've thrown around quite a lot today. It's been quite intense for people. I think not being ashamed to play. I've got silly pens and I'm 40, for goodness sake. Finding things that work for you, finding your way to play. My slogan's like permission to play your way. Okay, it's finding your flow. if you can take that pause, play, connect, flow and apply it to your life, your kids are going to all be at different stages and ages. You know, this does work fantastically well with children who have additional needs. Yeah, and I've worked with a lot of that. The sector. When I was a teacher, I had hundreds and hundreds of different children with different needs, and it still works. It still works. And if you get stuck, then get in touch, and we can break it down and do a one-to-one and see how we can apply this flow into your life and tweak a couple of things, like we're talking about the bath time, you know, our facial expressions, just monitoring, doing that body scan. Am I smiling or am I just like, so how is my kid going to receive that? Putting the phone down just for the second and giving them the eye contact. Now, you know, you're helping their brain to be built in a really healthy way, help them to feel safe, you know, thinking about connection. And so we're always going for, how can I build connection right now, not disconnect? How can I make myself feel safe? Because I am that environment around the child. How can I create that? I am the environment in the office when I'm managing all these people. How can I make my employees feel safe?
Wow, that's super, Debbie. I think it's I've really enjoyed this chat. It's been quite playful in itself. So if people want to get in touch with you, find out more, see your resources, where can we see you, Debbie? How can we get in touch?
Oh, I think the website playhealing.com is a good way to start. I am on LinkedIn quite a lot, and Instagram. Just started a little bit of TikTok, but I've if someone could help me, I've just done a company page. He completely forgot to do it years back. So if people want to like the Play Healing CIC company page on LinkedIn, that would help, because it looks like I only got 4 followers at the moment because I set it up today. So that would be.
I'll give you number 5.
Hey!
We can't say that.
Yeah, well, I hope people have enjoyed this conversation, and I am professional, honestly, but I think it's good to be relaxed and playful.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, I think we need more of that in the corporate world too.
I think we do. Debbie, it's been a joy chatting to you. Thank you very much for spending time with us today. This will be on YouTube and social and everywhere, so I'll drop all the links for your connections and resources that you mentioned in there. Debi John, thank you very much for spending time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.